Chapter 13, Imagery. Jack Nicklaus is a retired American professional golfer. He is widely regarded as the greatest golfer of all time, winning a record of 18 career major championships while producing 19 second place and 9 third place finishes over a span of 25 years. When asked about his use of imagery, he stated, "I never hit a shot, not even in practice, without having a very sharp, in-focus picture of it in my head. It is like a color movie. First I see the ball where I want it to finish. Then the scene quickly changes and I see the ball going there. And then there is sort of a fade out and the next scene shows me making the kind of swing that will turn the image into reality." For many years, athletes have been mentally practicing their motor skills. Mental preparation for competition has several names. Equivalent terms include visualization, mental rehearsal, symbolic rehearsal, covert practice, imagery, and mental practice. All of these terms involve creating or recreating an experience in the mind. Through imagery, we can recreate positive experiences or picture new events to prepare ourselves mentally for future performances. Imagery is a form of simulation. Imagery often involves the use of all senses to create an experience: seeing or visual, feeling or kinesthetic, hearing or auditory, touch or tactile, or smelling, which is olfactory. Imagery also involves the mood or the emotions of the individual involved. Learning to attach various emotional states or moods to your imagined experiences can help to recreate emotions such as anxiety, anger, joy, or pain, and also moods such as confidence or concentration. Imagery can help us to control our emotional state. The primary uses of imagery. To acquire or practice skills. Imagery can help enhance a variety of skills to improve performance and can facilitate the learning of a new technique or strategy. You can practice skills to fine-tune them, or you can pinpoint weaknesses and visualize correcting them. To cope with pain or adversity. Imagery is useful to help cope with pain or injury. It can speed up the recovery of an injured area and prevent skills from deteriorating. To solve problems. Imagery can be used to practice and learn new strategies or to review alternative strategies for either a team or an individual. Imagery helps us to discover and solve problems in performance. To improve concentration. Some new evidence has indicated that the use of imagery might assist with increasing the ability to concentrate. To build confidence. When we practice skills in our mind, especially skills that are difficult for us, we can increase our confidence. And lastly, to control emotional responses. Imagery can be used to create higher levels of arousal or to reduce anxiety if an athlete gets too uptight before a performance. Several factors appear to determine the extent to which imagery can improve performance. The nature of the task. Tasks involving mostly cognitive components, such as decision-making and perception, show the greatest positive benefits from imagery rehearsal. The skill level of the performer. Experimental evidence shows that imagery significantly helps performance for both novice and experienced athletes, although the effects are somewhat stronger for the experienced players. Experienced athletes tend to use imagery more frequently as well. Our imaging ability. The most powerful factor influencing the effectiveness of imagery is the person's ability to form and control vivid images. Using imagery along with physical practice. Imagery needs to be added to one's normal physical practice to be effective. Imagery may give an individual an edge in improving performance. There is evidence that using imagery is effective and works. Clinical studies show an enhanced performance in learning, enhanced thoughts and emotions, and most successful athletes already use this anyway. So, why does imagery work like it does? Individuals generate information from memory that is essentially the same as an actual experience. Consequently, imaging events can have an effect on our nervous system, similarly to a real or actual experience. Remember, in psychology, techniques may work in different ways for different people. No one theory can really explain all the different findings surrounding imagery research and practice, but each theory discussed sheds light on mechanisms driving imagery and why it can enhance performance. The Psychoneuromuscular Theory proposed the ideomotor principle of imagery. According to this principle, imagery facilitates the learning of motor skills because of the nature of the neuromuscular activity patterns activated during imaging. Imagery results in subliminal neuromuscular patterns identical to the patterns used during actual movements. When someone imagines starting a movement, various areas of the brain become active, including the premotor cortex as the action is initiated, and the cerebellum during the control of the movement sequences that require a specific order. Many areas of the brain that are active during visual perception are also active during visual imagery, which indicates that imagery shares some of the brain processes and pathways with actual vision. Imagery can also have a physiological response, such as an increase in heart rate, stroke volume, and cardiac output during times of stress. The symbolic learning theory. Imagery can help individuals to understand their movements. Imagery may serve as a coding system to help people to acquire and understand movement patterns. An individual creates a blueprint within the central nervous system to successfully complete a movement. The symbolic learning theory works due to the fact that imaging literally plans actions in advance. This sets the stage for performance before it even starts. Attention and arousal set theory. Attention and arousal set theory combines the cognitive aspects of symbolic learning theory with the physiological aspects of the psychoneuromuscular theory. According to this theory, imagery serves to improve performance in two ways. Physiologically, imagery helps to adjust arousal level for optimal performance. From a physiological perspective, imagery may help the athlete to adjust his or her arousal level for optimal performance. This also helps the athlete to selectively attend to the task at hand. From a cognitive perspective, imagery may help the athlete to selectively attend to the task at hand. This reduces the tendency to be too distracted by irrelevant stimuli. If the athlete is attending to a task-relevant image, they are less likely to be distracted by irrelevant stimuli. Psychological skills hypothesis is a hypothesis that suggests that imagery works through the development and refining of psychological skills. For example, by improving concentration, reducing anxiety, and enhancing confidence. Imagery develops and refines mental skills. The bioinformational theory. This is a theory of emotional imagery. Images are made of stimuli and response propositions. Triple code model. Imagery comprises the image, somatic response, and image meaning. The image has to mean something to the individual. Imagery highlights the understanding of three effects that are essential parts of imagery referred to as ISM. The first part is the image, I, and it's the image itself. The second part is the somatic response, S. This is the act of the imagination resulting in psychophysiological changes in the body. The third aspect of imagery is the meaning, or M, of the image. Every image imparts a definitive significance to the individual imager. Imagery skill is acquired through practice. Some participants are naturally good at it, while others have to work hard. For some, it's difficult to create an image and see it vividly in the mind. There are two keys to good images: vividness and controllability. Vividness. Good imagers will use all of their senses to make their image as vivid and detailed as possible, We want to recreate the situation as closely as possible to the actual experience in your mind. Controllability. Another key to successful imagery is learning to manipulate your images so that they do what you want them to. Many athletes have difficulty controlling their own images and often find themselves repeating the mistakes that they visualized. There are different types of imagery, specifically internal imagery versus external imagery. Internal imagery, this is where you imagine the execution of a skill from your own vantage point. You see only what you would see if you had actually executed the particular skill. This type of imagery emphasizes the feel of the movement. External imagery. In external imagery, you view yourself from the perspective of an outside observer. There is little emphasis on the kinesthetic movement. Rather, there is a much more global perspective. So, how do we determine which approach we should use? Whatever allows you the most control and allows for the best images to be created. Many athletes switch back and forth between internal and external imagery dependent upon their needs and upon the situation.